Hello and welcome. So let's have a listen to another video, see what we can pick up. So remember the point here is that we want to try and find some things with English that we can learn. Either it could be like new words or phrases. It could be looking at someone's style in terms of their delivery, could be their gestures, could be anything that you can take on board when you're using English. So let's have a listen here. Now, this is the Transport for London YouTube page, and this video that I've picked here is the behind the scenes of Transport for London's property office. I'll put the link for the video in the description, but let's have a listen and see what we can pick up and what we may like about the video.
Every year, around 250,000 items are left behind on our network, from umbrellas and bags to bikes, saxophones, and even urns of ashes. But
okay, so this is a very nice introduction straight away, isn't it? So you can get the idea of the thing I like particularly is like every year this happens, and then it's giving a range. So from this to this, and in terms of what you include in that, could be many different things. It's up to you in terms of how wide, I guess, you want that range to be, and how different you want those items to be. But it's a very nice structure to use if you're presenting some type of information like that in a story or whatever it may be. The other thing I note here is that the sound, now obviously this is from London because there's Transport for London, but also you can hear the voice. And I think I lived in London for a few years. This is I'm not sure if you call it like an English or a British way of speaking, or just a London way, but certainly with the words like I am. So instead of saying item, it's like I am, and it's a good way to pick up if you're practicing listening, a good way to pick up the way that different words and sounds are pronounced. In this case, as I say, it could be London, could be England, could be Britain, whatever it might be. So, but it's a good way to get some practice with that. And I would say it's the same thing anyway for many people talk about, oh, I want to practice English with a native speaker, that sort of thing. And I try and not dismiss it, but try to put context to it, because depending on what you're actually going to be encountering. Now, if you're going to England or to London, this would be a great sort of thing to watch. If you're going to somewhere like to France or to Brazil or to Japan, what you might be encountering are people from those countries speaking English. So you'd want to practice listening to people from those countries or regions speaking English to get a handle on what they're saying or how they say things, or perhaps some expressions or common traits that they have, perhaps when they're pronouncing or structuring sentences. Remember, the point of English and any language, the basic aim is to communicate and to share a message. And so the responsibility, of course, is on both sides, both the sender to give the message in a way that's understood, and for the receiver to try and understand. And that's when you would have that practice. But in this sort of sense, this is good particularly if you're going to visit London, to get a handle on the way that some things are pronounced. But let's go back.
Are left behind on our network, from umbrellas and bags to bikes, saxophones, and even urns of ashes. But where do these items go, and how can you get them back? In this video, you'll be learning how the Lost Property Office operates and the day in the life of a lost property officer. Come with me.
Okay, so again, this is a very good way of introducing details of what's going to happen. Very similar to a video we saw yesterday, where they were talking about some sort of machine in terms of manufacturing. So both of these videos have been very much some sort of let's say it's a corporate video as such, but it's a corporate representation of, in this case, I guess it's a service, and yesterday in terms of a product. But it's very good in terms of letting people know what they're going to be hearing, and that can be very useful, like obviously in terms of a formal situation, but also informal situations, uh, to let people, into the loop, to let them know what could be happening. So already we're only 19 seconds in here, and we can already pick some things out. So the other thing, again, I would highlight is that you don't necessarily need to listen to or watch huge portions of videos. You don't have to watch all of the movie, all of the TV show, all of everything to get some type of benefit. You can for enjoyment, of course, but in terms of things when you're going, oh, okay, I want to use this for my language learning, you don't necessarily need very much time. But the key, of course, like always, is to actually use it. So any of these things or other things that you find that could be useful, the main thing is that you take them and you try and use them. You try when you're speaking or writing, as it may be, but when you're producing English, you're trying to use some of these things in your practice.
The Lost Property Office has been part of TfL for over 90 years. It has handled millions of objects and is one of the largest operations of its kind in Europe. Not everything is a phone or a wallet. Over the years, the office has handled giant teddy bears, wedding dresses, and even a garden gnome.
Okay, so that's a nice way, again, of presenting information. Not everything is this, and then it's saying it's basically other things as well. I suppose a more common way might be saying it's not only blah, 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 or you will find more than this, but it's a very good way of presenting that, apart from what might be the more obvious items or ideas or thoughts, to present those other ones. Very nice.
And is one of the largest operations of its kind in Europe. Not everything is a phone or a wallet. Over the years, the office has handled giant teddy bears, wedding dresses, and even a garden gnome. Each one tells a story, and it's up to the officers to catalogue them all. The day begins when the first deliveries arrive. Hundreds of items are collected.
I don't know if it's going to say in this video. I want to, because right at the beginning, there was like a shot, I remember that's 44 seconds, but somewhere at the beginning, there was like a shot
behind on our network from umbrella.
Okay, so you've got all these umbrella, and what I've wondered these sorts of things before, because in a few cities I've seen these lost property offices or departments. I always wonder, how would you identify? Like, you can see there, imagine going and saying, oh, I lost my umbrella. What it looked like, it was a black umbrella. And you could say, okay, there was like a hook at the end. And like, I'm not sure if I'm sure there must be brands and stuff. I've never really noticed the name of a brand on an umbrella. But it's just, I've always wondered how, if they would just sort of get one and go, oh yeah, that's close enough, unless there was some sort of like specific writing and stuff. But anyway, okay, let's, where were we? 44 seconds. So let's go here.
When the first deliveries arrive, hundreds of items are collected overnight from the tubes, buses, taxis, the overground, DLR, and the Elizabeth line. Everything is logged, checked, and carefully tagged.
Okay, so everything is this, and this. So talking about the basic process, so these things happen to that. Again, that's a nice little nugget of something you can use if you want to talk about very quickly highlighting the process that something goes through. I'm not sure if they're going to explain it a little bit further, but encapsulating what they're doing is very good.
Single item is entered into the database with care. A detailed description gives owners the best chance of being reunited with their belongings and carefully tagged. Every single item is entered into the database with care.
Okay, so maybe it's just the T's, because I've heard item a few times, but then it was also database. So it's good to pick up those things. So when you're listening and you've got different accents and places, or people from places that you're listening to, if you can pick up on those things and go, oh, okay, so I'm not gonna hear the T for for some people, or I'm not going to hear the L, or I'm not going to hear the R, or it's going to have a different sort of sound, or whatever it might be. But it could also be like, normally I hear an S. Let's say, for example, for like third person or something like that. But for a lot of people, when I listen to videos from this particular region, they don't pronounce the S for whatever reason, as an example. So those are good things to have in mind. So when you're trying to understand them, perhaps in real life or in other videos or other encounters, that can be very useful as well.
A detailed description gives owners the best chance of being reunited with their belongings, even if they inquire weeks later. With around 400 inquiries each day, the team is kept very busy matching inquiries to property. Once we have a match, the customer is informed and can arrange for collection or postal service. We have commuters asking about laptops to tourists checking in about passports, and there is no better feeling than reuniting a customer back with their property.
So here is the area where the drivers pull up and unload all of the property. The sorters will be...
I like that "so" at the beginning. I often say that as well. So it's a nice little bridge to introduce the new topic or new point, or to go back to a point that was mentioned before if you maybe gone off on a tangent. I like that. So you'll see "so" has a few different uses, but in that case, the word's used more of, I guess, as a bridge and that sort of thing. Okay, I might have to listen just a little bit more. Remember, we don't need to listen to the whole video, but like I say, the link will be in the description, so you're more than welcome to listen to the whole thing. And I think it's probably a good thing too, so to get the whole feeling and see if there are other things that you can pick out from the video that's of interest to you.
Inside to basically receive all the property and have a look and make sure it's all there. So if you just come through here, we'll go through to sorting.
So if you just come through here, so imagine you're doing a tour of an office or your house or any sort of location. That is a nice example of how you can show people or guide people through an area. So here again, even though we're watching a video, that can be very useful in a very practical sense, showing people around in a particular place. And even, I guess, if it's a physical place, it could even be a virtual place as well. If you're describing what happens in a game, that could be, so maybe you might not say here, you might say there because you're pointing at it, or it could be virtually as well, but it's useful as well.
But essentially, this is where it all starts. The sorters will take the property out of the cage.
But essentially, so we're going to get whatever the point is in a snapshot about what this room is for, or what's happening in this part of the process. But essentially, very nice.
Bit empty at the moment. But essentially, this is where it all starts. The sorters will take the property out of the cages and make sure that we've got absolutely everything that's been put in the sacks. And they'll tick it off on a system that we have called Not Lost. After it's all been counted, essentially, and checked off, will then be categorized. So we've got bags. That is the single most lost item on TfL. I think we get something like about 6,000 items more or less a week. That's about 1,200 items a day. We've also got general, which is like everything else that we cannot categorize.
Everything that you cannot categorize is general. Sure, maybe there's just, they don't have enough of those items to put into a separate category, perhaps. So I wonder, that'll be interesting. Okay, so what we might do, we might leave it there. Like I say, have a listen to the video, see if there's anything else that you find there that may be useful to you, or indeed use this as an example of how you can analyze videos or TV shows, movies, any sorts of recordings that you may encounter, podcasts and so on. It's effectively the same thing, I guess, you can do in terms of looking at some writing or looking at a brochure and that sort of thing. Anything, you just got to sort of pick some things that you go, that's useful for me, I'm going to try and use it. Don't try and overwhelm yourself. Just try and get a little bit at a time and try to implement that, try and use that. Okay, thank you very much. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, all that sort of stuff if you've enjoyed and you'd like to have more using and learning of English. All right, have a great day. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.